Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to you, wherever in the world you may be tuning in from. Welcome to our first GLF Live this month, this summer, where we'll be discussing sustainable wildlife management in Guyana. My name is Natasha Elkington, based in Nairobi, Kenya, and I will be your host and moderator for this live session, which will be broadcasted across the globe, streamed live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. You'll also be able to listen to it after on Spotify, different Apple Podcasts, and many other platforms. So jumping into our discussion today, where we're talking about wild meat and fish are important sources of protein and fat and micronutrients, particularly for indigenous peoples and local communities in tropical and subtropical regions of Latin America, Africa, and Asia. However, in some regions, the demand for wild meat and fish has risen, especially in urban areas, and with the increased degradation of natural habitats, threatening entire ecosystems, as well as the people who rely on them. Therefore, in order to find a balance between the demand and the landscape and with the wildlife populations, the Sustainable Wildlife Management Program in Guyana was started in 2017 with the aim of improving the conservation and sustainable use of wildlife. So today, for this GLF live session, we have a great panel of experts to share with us the successes and challenges they faced and they've been facing in Guyana. So joining us from Guyana, we have David Oswin, who is the country coordinator for the SWM program in Guyana. And we have Kim Spencer, who is also going to be joining us in a bit, just having some issues with the rain and weather. And she's an indigenous teacher and ranger of the South Puni Region Conservation Society, SRCS. And from Colombia, we have Natalie Van Vliet, a wildlife and livelihood experts at CIFOR. Thank you all for joining us. Can you all hear? Lovely. Okay, thank you. So we're going to start the conversation, I guess, with you, Oswin, to share just a bit of context, just to give us a bit of understanding about the landscape in Guyana, the diversity, the cultural diversity, the indigenous peoples, and the relationship to nature.
Yes. Good morning. As Natasha said, my name is Oswin David, the country coordinator for the SWM program. The program is now on our 5th year, and we have now come to an end of our first phase. Thanks to all our partners and thanks to my colleague, a wonderful colleague, Natalie. Yes, so Guyana is a country on South America's North Atlantic coast, and it's characterized by its dense rainforests. So in Guyana, there are 9 tribes, indigenous peoples that inhabited Guyana. And Guyana, according to the indigenous word or the Amerindian word, comes from land of many water. So it's culturally connected to the Caribbean region and the only English-speaking country in South America. So the 9 tribes of Guyana comprises both in the coastal area and the interior regions of Guyana. So on the coast, we have the 3 main tribes, the Warao, the Arawaks, and the Carib. While in the interior, we have the Wapshanas, the Patamonas, the Arakonas, the Waiwais, the Makushis. So in the region where I am from, or where the project is implemented, we're focusing mostly on the 2 tribes, which is the Makushi and the Wapshana. However, to the most interior of the forest is the Waiwais. That's like bordering between Guyana and our neighboring country, Brazil. And the wild meat in the Rupununi is very critical, actually, since we are both dependent. I mean, the indigenous people in the region are both dependent on both fish and wild meat. So it's our lifestyle, it's our culture, it's our tradition as well.
Great. Well, thank you for giving us that background. So, and which tribe do you belong to then?
Yes, I'm from the Wapshana tribe, sorry.
Okay, great, yes. Thank you. So Natalie, I'll jump to you. Could you maybe just give us, again, a bit of background and context about the SWM program and what you've been doing and working on, so we can just, get a bit of a understanding of what's happening down in Guyana?
Sure, Natasha, yes. So SWM, the SWM program in Guyana, it's important to specify that it's an EU-funded initiative, part of the Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific program. And it is being implemented in Guyana by the Guyana Wildlife Management Commission. And CIFOR is there as a technical partner in support for the implementation. So we started this program in 2017. We are, as Osvin just mentioned, we are in our 5th year of implementation, and our program really focuses on supporting local communities in developing and implementing co-management models for wildlife and also for inland fisheries. So we work both at the local level with communities, but also at the governmental level, at the national level, working in partnership with the Guyana Wildlife Management and Conservation Commission, and also the Fisheries Department, to support them in improving their regulatory framework that regulates the use of fisheries and wild meat. Our main activities have focused on implementing the inland fisheries management plan in the North Rupununi wetlands with Makushi communities on one hand. And on the other hand, we're also working with the Wapishan people in the South Rupununi to implement the Wapishan Wij. Wij means territory. So it's a Wapishan Territory Wildlife Management Plan. We're working very closely with communities in implementing those plans, covering different aspects that, you know, we can explain a bit later. But we're also working on turtle conservation and management. So basically, we're working on 3 different management plans: the fisheries management plan, the wildlife management plan in South, and also the turtle management plan across the whole Rupununi region.
Great. So could you just give us maybe an overview of the situation of wild meat in Guyana? Because I think it's very different. I think we were mentioning earlier to like DRC, or how, you know, different parts of the world are.
Yes. So Guyana, I mean, the region where we are working in particular is a low populated area. The human population density is very low. The whole Rupununi region counts with 24,000 inhabitants, and with vast areas of forest and savannah. Urbanization is growing, but the only major town is Letem. This is the major town in the region. And the road that connects the region with Georgetown, with the coastal area, is still an untarred road, so traffic is relatively low. However, over the years, the human population has increased. The connection between this region, which is located in the southern part of the country in neighboring Brazil, and the coastal area has increased with increased traffic, increased extractive activities from gold mining and logging in the area. So despite the fact that hunting and fishing is mostly practiced based on traditional methods, the pressure on wildlife has increased over the decades, and with the increase also of commercial fishing and commercial hunting. At the moment, the region where we work is not under huge pressure of hunting for commercial purposes, but we know already from the research that we have carried out in this program that there is a huge demand for wild meat on the coastal area, the urban area. Currently, the wild meat that is being sold on the coast does not come from the Rupununi region, but these increased demand, the analysis of trends in wild meat trade show that there is a possibility that with the road being tarred and access being facilitated to this southern part of the country, that increased pressure could happen in the future. So what we are trying to do to prevent that is to support local communities in getting themselves organized, ensuring that their customary rules are enforced, and supporting them in partnering with the government to ensure that visitors respect customary rules for the use of wildlife, and also that community members themselves also enforce those rules in their own communities. And that, this is why, environmental education and awareness raising is so important. And that's why we're working with people like Kimi, who's a teacher and who's implementing environmental education, because this is one of, our major pillars in terms of, for the future, preparing the kids and the youth to more sustainable ways of life. Yes.
Great. So I guess in terms of we'll go to Oswin. You have to involve the community, and I guess even they've also teach us how to preserve and conserve, right? We can also learn from ancient traditions mixed with modern technology. So also maybe you can tell us a bit of about your Wapichan people, like how their relationship to the land, maybe before, and what is it now, and how do you hope to see it sort of unfold in the future, maybe through this program.
Yes, the tradition is really important as to Wapichans, and it's directly related to wildlife as well. Not only wildlife, but everything in the forest. And yes, so the customary, for example, we have our customary, we have our traditionals, but they are also, each of the tribes or each of the two tribes are very different, but at the same time similar traditions, similar as it relates to conservation, because everybody wants to conserve wildlife, everybody wants to manage wildlife, but at the same time we don't want to overexploit what we have. So our territory, as in the Rupununi, is always important to us. We depend on the natural resources for our survival, for example, for farming, fishing, gathering, hunting. Both the Wapichan, as I mentioned in Wapichan, and mostly our focus is on the wildlife management, focuses in the South Rupununi, which is the Wapichan people and of the South Rupununi. So in early 60s, they have been strongly advocating for land rights for the entire territory by every means. The South Rupununi comprises of 21 Wapichan communities, all are Wapichan, and only one of the community is of the Mapuche tribe. And one of the biggest drive, I think, is the biodiversity assessment that was conducted last year through the support of SWM in the Karawaimento area. It's a customary area, customary land, and it's an area also that is very rich in minerals. And what I think is through this assessment, it has opened the eyes of many of the local people, not only in one particular village, which is Ashalton, but also across the South Rupununi and across the region, and of course, national-wide as well, where they have now recognized how much the Wapichan people are pushing to have this kind of ownership in their own traditional lands. So over the years, they have been experiencing multiple threats, particularly by the miners. And however, with their successful collaborations through NGOs and through governmental organizations and other regional organizations, they were able to bring attention to the relevant leaders, and as so far they have this successful plan of how to go towards conserving those territorial and their traditional lands as well.
So things are working out. So they're listening to the community on the ground, and so it's like a positive story.
It is a positive story, but it's we still have a long way to go. We need support not only at the national or regional level, but of course through the international level. And I think the SWM program has played a very critical role in ensuring that that gap has filled, but there's more gaps that needs to be filled as it relates to conservation and management, and particularly the traditional lands as well.
Right, and then also legal, right? The whole legal route that you have to go to in order to own
Exactly,
those,
yes.
those rights to own that land. Wow, very interesting. Yeah, so I guess we're waiting. We have questions for Kim, but when she jumps in, then we'll direct them to her. So I guess
Kim is here actually. Sorry.
Oh, is she?
Yes. So we can jump onto her.
Oh, so okay, cool. Okay, so to our audience, we're experiencing a lot of rainfall and technology issues. And so we're going to be creative in how we do our interview. Thanks, Kim, for joining us. I know there's terrible weather and you're traveling from very far. Appreciate you making the effort.
Yes, I'm glad to be here as well.
Thank you. So this is Kim Spencer, who's also a teacher and working with children and women on conservation. So maybe since you've just joined us, you could just give us a little bit of a background and about your personal story.
All right. Well, I am mathematics teacher currently in Sand Creek Secondary School. And as before, I didn't want to become a teacher. I was in early age. However, working with SRCS, I end up in the school system, and there I became, I got to enjoy it, which I had the opportunity to work with youths, and with them, they had less opportunity of going out on fields and learning about birds and so forth. So I decided to create a wildlife club and to work on it, and which it's been very successful in the 1 year. We had lots of challenges coming up. We had, well, when I left for college, had no one to take them up, to take them out on fields. They had no wildlife club until I returned to school. Then we started to work again. I have enjoyed my journey, my experience as a teacher, as a maths teacher, and also as a wildlife facilitator. It gives me different perspective of students in class. They treat me in a way like, and then outside in the fields, we have the same mutual respect, but they're more openly to me on the fields than in my classroom. It's very strange, but yes. For my whole journey of teaching, I have seen my kids or my students have made some changes from before as they joined the club. Yes, they have showed me some improvement, and which makes me happy that indeed they are taking the fields or whatever they learn in the sessions into practice. Yes, so I had a wonderful experience as a teacher, as wildlife facilitator.
Great. So I guess my question to you would be like, why is it important that we teach our children now how to conserve, restore, and document our ancient traditions, and also have a relationship to, you know, the landscape that we live in?
Well, here in the Rupununi, well, as Region 9, there's 2 tribes, 3 actually, Mapushi, Wapishana, and Waiwai. And mostly in the south is the Wapishana tribe, and just have 1 village, which is Mapushi. So it's important for us to know our tradition, our custom, because that shows who you are. That shows what tribe you are. And if you don't know what your tribe is, it will be hard for you to identify yourself and to see who you are. And restore these customs and conserve our natural habitat is for the youths or the future generation to see what we had in years ago. And as I can see currently, yes, we do have lots of youths don't know what to do, can't weave basket, can't spin, and so forth. But if we do teach them this, they will be able to do all of the stuff and also have an education, well, both traditional and
I guess about education, yeah, because I mean, I think the future of the world is returning to the earth. Like we have to, preserve our earth, and this is where we're going. So before we used to do that, and we've kind of sort of forgotten, and it's now kind of remembering and reminding our children, how to look after the earth and where we live. And I guess the other group of people that you work with is also women. Maybe share with us a bit more about the role of women in Guyana when it comes to preserving and restoring. Like where are we right now? How far do we have to go? Or is there a strong presence? What's the situation?
Women, yes, I do work with women, which is the youths. Right now, before I go into this, that why choose women, because our school, they don't have the opportunity to take up roles or the leadership roles, like some activities, to be president in the school or to be captains and so forth, right? Because most times they say it's the male's job to lead, and they will be working. In terms of, we seen more women in leading conservation will be an increase if we continue to guide them and to encourage or inspire those youths. As from my experience with my students, they give me a positive feedback, which made me happy. Like, Miss, I would like to be like you. So why? Because they said you take up, they want to lead or they want to be in conservation field and to help to save the earth, to help protect the animals, because they said there's nobody looking after the animals, nobody looking after the land and so forth. I want to be in that field so I can see how can I help to preserve the natural environment. That was one of the comments I got.
Wow, that's quite kind of amazing. And I guess it's a nice segue into asking you, Natalie, as the scientist sort of running this program. And I guess the idea was to learn from the success stories, in Guyana, where we can hopefully maybe replicate it in other countries in South America. So I guess this is one success where, we're empowering women and getting them more in touch with, in nature, and empowering them even to work in this field. Maybe you can share with us a few more successes that you've learned, and then maybe after the challenges, we can ask Osman to jump in.
Yes, sure. No, I would like to say also that Kimi is not only a teacher at school, but she's also a ranger, and she works for the South Rupununi Conservation Society, which is a leading local grassroots NGO that started before the SWM program, but was able to kind of grow in terms of experience, and is now recognized as one of the main NGOs working in the South Rupununi for the conservation of wildlife. And Kimi is part of this organization. This organization works now with different species, with anteater conservation, with the red siskin, it's a small bird conservation. They're leading turtle conservation and management, and also environmental education, including traditional skills. So the curriculum of the environmental education mixes scientific learning, but also traditional skills learning. So that, I think, has been innovative in the context of Guyana, and other regions of Guyana are now asking to join this type of environmental curriculum. So apart from environmental education, the SWM Guyana, I think, has been successful in empowering grassroots NGOs. So our program was not implemented by us, by CIFOR or by the Wildlife Commission on its own. We partner with existing grassroots and local organizations. And over the 5 years, we have seen how these organizations have incredibly grown. An organization such as SRCS used to work with a very small budget and only voluntary staff. And now they are working with, more than 30 people with a yearly budget of about 200,000 USD. They're able to, per year, they're able to raise further funding. They're able to partner with other organizations and get further support. And SRCS is not the only one. We also work with Visit Rupununi, an NGO working on tourism. We work with the Rupununi Livestock Producers Association, which is our partner for the implementation of alternative sources of protein and food security. And we also work with 2 indigenous groups, the South Rupununi District Council and the North Rupununi Development Board, as well as another local NGO called Cayman House that works on turtle conservation. So I think one of our main and most visible successes has been to ensure that these local organizations grow in terms of technical expertise, financial management, and the capacity to be self-sufficient and to partner now, at the higher level and search further support. In addition to that, I think SWM has been it's a kind of glue between these different organizations and the government as well, because I think we have the structure we have used for the implementation of this program has allowed for a lot of sharing of experiences between North Rupununi, South Rupununi, within the Rupununi region itself, but also between the Rupununi region and the government. So we are bringing the region closer to the national level, and also the national level closer to communities in the framework of co-management, where each has a responsibility. The government has a responsibility to play, and communities also are now are empowered to implement management and conservation.
Yes, exactly. So I guess just after that, like what can the world learn from this program and what's happening in Guyana? Like, it's a tiny little country and it's doing this, but it's doing things that are important. Why is this important if we take it globally?
I think we have been talking, over the decades about, the importance of involving communities in wildlife management, but I am not sure we have been very good in doing that. Because it requires a different mindset in terms of who implements and how these projects are implemented, and a shift in terms of this dichotomy between the project staff and the beneficiaries and communities. I think the setup we have imagined for Guyana has I think cleverly involved everyone in the decision making, from the step where we plan activities. We all sit together also to evaluate and assess progress, and also thinking of the next phase, because we work based on an adaptive management process where every year we collectively decide on which activities are going to be carried out the following years. So I think this kind of breaks the usual dichotomy between projects and beneficiaries. We don't have such a thing in Guyana. I think we all sit on the same boat. And this has been very important for the success of the program, because everyone feels empowered, but also responsible for the success. And I think it also encourages everyone that is part in the project in doing their best, because I think a lot is also about the pride of being, leaders and innovators in the region and leading certain processes in the region. And I think this co-learning aspect and sharing has led everyone to want to give their best out of this program. I work in other regions as well, Natasha, and I have myself inspired myself a lot in terms of what has been done in Guyana to implement similar strategies in other countries where I work, in DRC, for example, and also in Colombia. So this SWM program has inspired myself in terms of how I support other communities across other regions of the world in ensuring sustainable use.
Because you're involving the community, so it's a different approach that's being used, and I guess, and that's what's making the difference. I think that's the core of what I'm understanding from this program. And then maybe Kim or Osman would like to share, like as being the beneficiaries or the recipients, working on the ground in this program, how have you felt, as part of your community and representing the indigenous peoples through this process?
Sorry,
because I think this is what's different now. It's like we're not. People not just bringing you something, but you're being part of it and participating, which I think is the most important milestone.
Yes, most of my roles and responsibilities basically monitoring of activities, implementing the activities, but the most one that I think personally I'm proud of is the biodiversity assessment. And I have seen, or I have received feedback from the persons of Ashalton, which is the Deep South. Like they have this pride saying that we have done this, we have seen this. And recently when we have the local luncheon, the number of persons came up to me saying that this was a wonderful job and this is a wonderful thing that the SWM program doing. So I think one of the greatest achievements was that they actually doing the work instead of totally dependent on the international scientists. Yes, I played a role, the SWM played a role through the governmental, CIFOR played a role, yes, in facilitating the activity, but the groundwork is being completely conducted by the local persons themselves. So they know the process from the beginning to the inception, and they are being involved, not only the Ashalton persons or the villagers itself, but almost all of the 21 communities surrounding those communities participate in the biodiversity assessment in different taxa. For example, some persons may involve in fish, beetles, monitoring of water, forests, mammals. So everybody have this different activities within their interests as well. And you can see that the people are really interested. They want to learn, they want to expand their knowledge. They have the local knowledge, because without local knowledge, the scientific community cannot have everything complete, or you cannot analyze everything just scientifically. You need local knowledge, which plays a very critical role in any scientific or any assessment as well. Yes, so recently, the people were very proud, and I'm not sure if you have seen this book. This is one of the products that we have developed, and this is so cool based on the assessment. Yes.
Awesome. That's amazing. I think I think this is, for me, what the world needs to learn more. It's about this indigenous knowledge, local communities. We have to bring them to the table, and they have to be part of the conversation, women and children, because it's all of them who are the last places that we have left on earth, is these places with our local communities, indigenous peoples, women protecting this land. And so we need to conserve and nurture this part and involve them and bring them to the table when it comes to decision making. So I think the world can learn, take away many lessons that we can replicate elsewhere, like you were saying, in Africa and South America. But I guess what were the biggest challenges? I guess it's important to also, I think, talk about that, and then how are they resolved, or how are they going to be resolved? Because it's going to be 3 more years of this project, right? For sure, hopefully. Whoever wants to jump in.
Yeah, there may be, yes, with success, with everything, there is always some sort of challenges. But I think I'm used kind of those challenges, and we're with the support, or with the members, or with my small group of persons, including Natalie, we always find ways how to overcome those challenges, I guess. Maybe perhaps because we are a very dedicated team. The most, I think, the challenges that we may have encountered, particularly in Guyana or in European itself, is the communication aspect. Because our area is so dispersed, so distant, and it's not like, for example, in a city where you can easily have access to internet. For example, Mr. Kimi has to travel like almost 80 km just to come to Latin to have this internet access. So that's one of our major challenges as well. And then the seasonals, for example, rainy seasons or particular rainy seasons, no activities cannot be conducted within those periods. For example, even if you want to do an activity or there's an activity that has to be done within a particular season, it's impossible because throughout the area, Rupununi, we have the wetlands, and all the wetlands will be flooded with water. So that's one of our other challenges as well. And then maybe within the communities itself, yes, we have challenges. Not everybody in the community will work or will want to attend like for workshop, because every person, particularly in the community, they are not employed. They're not like everyday working or earning money. So they have to go to the farm, they have to go gathering, fishing, hunting to meet their family needs. So I think in the next few years, we'll try to accommodate everything just to ensure the successes that we have achieved in phase 1, we can maybe perhaps triple it or double it in the next 2-3 years time.
Awesome. I wish you all the success, and I hope, we're able to, record all this and then, like we said, apply it in different areas of the world, the strategy. So I'm looking at the clock, and we have like about 4 or 5 minutes left for our live session. It's still too short as usual, because you can have really in-depth, amazing discussions. So I think maybe just to give you this opportunity, because we have a great audience spread all over the world, and of scientists, young people, women, everywhere from all over, tuning in, and then they'll be able to watch this later. Because you have this platform, maybe just to wrap it up, maybe I'll throw it to Natalie, and then maybe we can go to Kim, and then maybe Oswin, you can, be the last one to speak. But whatever you think is important, since we're here discussing that the world should know about, what work is going on there, or about this program, or about Guyana, you just, take the mic and, share whatever you think is important, just to wrap up our really, really interesting session.
Thank you very much, Natasha, for the opportunity. If I may take at least 1 minute of the time, I think it has been an amazing experience to be able to work with a 5-year time framework and to have the opportunity to have 3 more years to consolidate the models, because those processes take a lot of time, and community processes have to go at the path of communities. Governmental processes also take time. We have been working very closely with the Fisheries Department and the Wildlife Commission, helping them improve the regulatory framework, but those processes also take a lot of time. And so we look at phase 2 as an opportunity to consolidate the models that we started in phase 1. And that's very important, to have the opportunity to work with a long-term vision, long-term support, long-term vision, and that allows people's dreams come true. Because I think that's what has been fascinating, is that working together with our local partners, they have been able to express their dreams, to develop their strategies, and SWM has been there to support those dreams come true. But we need time, and one of the main challenges we will have, if I may come to the challenges again, is to ensure sustainability of all the efforts that communities have been putting in place to ensure sustainable wildlife management. And that sustainability, especially financially speaking, comes with the establishment of sustainable business models. So I think our next big challenge will be to ensure that we have functioning business models in place that can help fund, at least partially, some of the conservation and management initiatives. But yes, I am very thankful for the team I work with, and also for the support that we have received, financial support that we have received, to be able to work with those communities with a long-term perspective.
Great. Well, thank you, Natalie. Really, thank you for making the time. I appreciate it. I know you also have brainstorms there, so I'm glad we didn't get cut out. So maybe we'll go to Kim. Like maybe we'll ask, or should we go to you, Oswald, since you're on camera already? Okay, or whoever wants to join us. Yeah, so Kim, maybe you could just share, why is this work important, or anything that you think is important that, you want the world to hear about the work you do, the situation in Guyana.
Yeah. Well, for me, why I believe it's important to teach the youths, because we can it's important to teach youths about the conservation, the values, everything generally about environment, and also as in the education system. I target the youths because they can go and relate to their parents and say, no, mom, this is this we should do and stuff, because they will be able to pass on the message for me instead of talking to adults. And with the youths, I see that as they come up, they can make a change in their adulthood. They can make some wise decisions and so forth. And as that's my goal with my wildlife club that I'm working on, to ensure that as much knowledge as possible to pass on to them. However, Rupununi is beautiful, and as the SWM saying, keep the Rupununi well, and that is our aim as well, as a small group, keep the Rupununi well. Yeah, that's for me.
Thank you, Kim. Really appreciate it. And thank you for making the effort and coming from so far away to share your experience and your knowledge. We really appreciate it. And I guess, so Oswald, to wrap it up for us, I know you have, there's the Heritage Month, right, in September, and there's a big annual event you're looking forward to. I don't know if you want to tell us about that, or just share what you think is important, since you have this platform.
Yes, since we are very proud Indigenous, and there are 9 tribes of Guyana, so the government actually, I think over the last 10 or 11 years ago, they have come up with this heritage celebration. They are in the process of trying to make it as like a national holiday, since in Guyana we have like 7 types of ethnicity, I think. 7th is a mixed one. So each of those ethnicity, for example, the European, then it has the African, the East Indian, they all have their national holiday. So the only holiday that we don't have is the Amerindian, or the indigenous persons, yes. So Heritage Month, which usually falls in September, like the whole month of September, it's considered as our Indigenous Heritage Month. And it's a month loaded with activities, and that all Indigenous people look forward to, not only Indigenous persons, but all of the nationals and also internationals as well. They really look forward. I think over the past years now, we have attracted so many tourists internationally coming to see what are the activities that are being done, not only at Georgetown or the coastal area, but also in the interior, particularly in Region 9, because the persons over here are so diverse as well, where persons exchange their traditions, their cultures, coming from different regions to showcase and to have cultural activity. And we look forward to promote our cultural in terms of like our celebration, the type of foods we have, and the drinks, the talents, the dances, the plaiting of warshes or baskets or unstinging, different activities, fun activities, and also educational activities. But I think the persons also realized that during this month, a lot of wild meat has been traded and consumed because not only during, I mean, the indigenous persons, the Amerindians, we consume wild meat now and then, but the September month is really been considered like where everybody wants to have a taste of wild meat, lava, venison, bush deer, tapir, or even fish, or different type of cuisines, like whether it's roasted, stewed, cooked, or whatever it is. Everybody looks forward to that. Nobody wants to eat in regular food. So that month is considered as that, and it really attracts like a lot of persons as well. Although that it's time to celebrate, most people don't realize like the impact of hunting as well for the wildlife population. So we realize, or some person may realize, that we may have that amount of wild meat in that particular area, but the persons do not realize the impact that it has to the hunting. So sometimes we may overhunt. We have to look at the open and closed seasons as well. However, yes, so the events
will there be sort of and like, would you use this as an opportunity to educate everyone, even though you're celebrating, is also to be mindful of what
Yes, in some instances, persons do, and to some extent as well, SWM do in a way try to educate persons, but it really falls for the celebration as well, because most persons will not be involved in that. But I think that is one of the area where we can showcase the importance of wildlife conservation, the importance of sustainability as well, even though our livelihood clearly depends on that.
Exactly.
Yes. So it's like always anticipated, where most people are reminded like how important our culture and traditions means us. Some persons come from like Brazil or even Europe or even from other countries just to see the culture of the Amerindian persons or the indigenous persons in the region across the country. Yes, and it's been celebrated across the country, and the national day is the 10th of September, and each year one particular community in a different region is being identified to have that national celebration. So this year, I'm not too sure where it would be. I'm hoping that it will be in Region 9.
Yes. Okay, nice. Yes, you don't have to travel far. well, I thank you all. I wish we could have, more time to discuss, this really interesting topic. I have to say, I've really learned a lot. And thank you for, making the effort and with, through all the different weather channels and situations. Yes, and you'll be able to, if whoever wasn't able to watch it, you'll be able to watch it again, on different platforms, on Apple Podcasts and the rest of it. But thank you all, and wish you a lovely rest of your day. Here it's evening time. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Kim. Cheers.
Thank you, Natasha. Bye.
Thank you, Natasha. Ciao, ciao. Bye.